It's an honor and a privilege to administer the oath of office to Scott M. Karson as the 123rd President of the New York State Bar Association. Scott has enjoyed such an outstanding legal career, demonstrating over the course of his professional life a deeply held conviction that lawyers have an obligation not only to give back to our profession, but to serve disadvantaged families and individuals in our communities throughout the state. And that conviction has been reflected in Scott's actions. He has served as president of the Suffolk County Bar Pro Bono Foundation and as vice chair of the board of Nassau-Suffolk Legal Services. And his commitment has certainly been clearly communicated by his words, and I quote, "By virtue of a license to practice law, attorneys are in a unique position to ensure that we live in a just society, representing clients and resolving disputes in accordance with the rule of law." So as we assemble here today virtually for Scott's installation, we are reminded in a very pointed way of the challenges that Scott will face as our next state bar president in leading the association through this historic pandemic. But those of us who know Scott are justifiably hopeful and excited because we know and understand the quality of his character and the strength of his leadership. The New York State Bar Association is poised to be a powerful force for good at a pivotal time in our history, a time when our state will need the expertise and guidance of lawyers to overcome this awful pandemic, when struggling New Yorkers will need the help and assistance of lawyers to get back on their feet, and when lawyers and law firms will need the strategic leadership and practical support of this association as they themselves recover from the disruption of the last several months. Scott Karson will meet these challenges with the same extraordinary competence, integrity, and commitment to service that have defined him throughout his career, and we can expect that he will bring great honor to his tenure and responsibilities as the 123rd President of the New York State Bar Association. And now it is my great privilege to administer the oath of office. Scott, please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York.
I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President of the New York State Bar Association.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of President of the New York State Bar Association
in accordance with the association bylaws to the best of my ability.
In accordance with the association bylaws to the best of my ability.
Congratulations to you, Scott, and good luck to you in your tenure.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening. To Chief Judge DiFiore, to distinguished members of the bench and bar, Rabbi Sheila Goloboy, colleagues, friends, and family. Although I cannot see you, I know and appreciate that you are out there and have chosen to share this special moment with me. It's an incredible privilege to assume the presidency of the largest voluntary state bar association in the United States. And that honor is made even greater because the oath of office that I have just taken was administered by Janet DiFiore, our distinguished Chief Judge of the state of New York. Your Honor, your exemplary leadership of our state's court system and your stewardship of the state's highest court serve as a model of leadership that I will aspire to emulate during the coming year. You have guided the judicial branch of our state government through the most severe public health crisis in modern history, which required unprecedented modifications of our entire court system. Yet you have made time to be an active and valuable partner with the lawyers of the New York State Bar Association. Together, we are working on a number of important initiatives intended to enhance the practice of law and the delivery of justice to our citizens, particularly during these difficult and uncertain times. I will seek to maintain and deepen that cooperative relationship during my term in office. On behalf of the 70,000 members of our association, I offer you my deep respect and sincere thanks. You are indeed a textbook example of what leadership is all about. And on the vein of leadership, I offer my special thanks to my friends and colleagues who participated in tonight's program. Our MC, Suffolk County Bar Association immediate past president Lynn Poster Zimmerman, Suffolk County Bar Association Executive Director Sarah Jane Lakova, retired Supreme Court Justice and now counsel to Lamb & Barnosky, Michael F. Mullen, my law partner at Lamb & Barnosky for some 30 years, Gene Barnosky, and my New York State Bar Association friend and colleague, the former New York County Lawyers Association and New York State Bar Association President, Michael Miller. They are leaders, each and every one. I would also like to acknowledge another leader tonight, and that is Henry Hank Greenberg, the indefatigable immediate past president of the New York State Bar Association. Hank, the members of the New York State Bar Association owe you their heartfelt thanks for your many accomplishments, and I, for one, am very proud to have served as your president-elect. The reason that we are able to gather this evening is because of President Greenberg's extraordinary vision and commitment to building a virtual bar center. Under his watch, the New York State Bar Association has undergone a technological transformation. We all knew that this was needed, but it could not have been done without Hank. Our website is unparalleled. Our bar center in Albany has state-of-the-art communications. We are meeting and carrying out the important business of the association on Zoom. Webinars and webcasts bring CLEs, current information, and training to lawyers around the world. Hank, because you look to the future, we were prepared for the unthinkable. Our great association has survived and thrived. Thank you. This is another example of what leadership looks like. I also want to take this opportunity to thank T. Andrew Brown, the association's new president-elect. Andrew, you come to this office after your service as chair of our finance committee. Your leadership has been essential in finding new and creative ways to raise income and balance our budget in difficult financial times. We are in a stronger financial position because of your steady hand and your knowledge and understanding of the complexities of the State Bar Association structure and operations. And on a personal note, Andrew, I'm sorry that I could not personally pass the gavel to you when you succeeded me as chair of the House of Delegates. And I suppose I will not get the Cooperstown bat from you, but I want you to know how honored I am to work with you. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the magnificent work of the two other officers with whom I am privileged to serve, our secretary, Sherry Levin-Wallach, and our treasurer, Dominic Napolitano. Both are great leaders, and I will be seeking their advice and counsel throughout my term. I also acknowledge and thank our brilliant and tireless executive director, Pam McDevitt, and the magnificent professional staff of our association. To all of you, you are completely dedicated to our mission, and your hard work is unparalleled. Thank you all. And thanks also to the lawyers and staff of Lamb & Barnosky for their encouragement and support, which have enabled me to take this journey on which I have embarked. And finally, when it comes to family, thanks is simply not enough. I would like to express my love to my wonderful wife of almost 48 years, Jolene. Many of you know her as she is frequently by my side at bar events, offering support, sound advice, and most of all, love. And to the rest of my dear family, I offer my love to them all as well. My daughter Toby, her husband Christos, and their children Isaiah and Ava, my son Jared, his wife Carol, and their children, Charlotte and Caleb. We're very, very blessed to have such a wonderful family. When I decided to run for president of the New York State Bar Association, I gave considerable thought about the future of our association and the initiatives I would pursue to advance the interests of the members should I be elected. However, it never crossed my mind that I might take office in the midst of what can aptly be described in biblical terms as a plague in the form of the coronavirus. Nobody would have imagined that this deadly virus would wreak such havoc around the world at large, nor that this microscopic virus would deeply affect the lawyers of the New York State Bar Association. But it has changed everything. I thought that my leadership of the association has changed everything that I thought my leadership of the association would entail. My view of leadership now requires that I substantially shift my focus, not only to dealing with the problems visited upon us by the coronavirus, but looking toward how that pandemic will change the future and bring problems we can't even yet see. Here are some of my thoughts in that regard. First, our association's schedule of events which have been held routinely year after year like clockwork, is now fraught with uncertainty, requiring new and creative approaches. For example, tonight we experience a first, a virtual installation. Our summer meeting in Cooperstown is being replaced by a virtual meeting, our second such meeting, and other events scheduled for later in the year are now in question. I cannot tell you how many events at which I was scheduled to speak, both as president-elect and as president, were either postponed or canceled as a result of the virus, and more cancellations and postponements, I no doubt, are sure to come. At some point, I certainly hope to join our members in a live event, hopefully before too long, but we are far from saying with any certainty when or where that might occur. Leadership will require flexibility and creativity in determining the appropriate date, venue, and format for our future activities. Whatever uncertainties might exist, one thing is certain. The coronavirus pandemic has brought to light many issues of critical importance, issues which lawyers can make a difference. For example, whether we saw it in the media, on the news, or had loved ones who were directly affected, we learned sadly as the crisis developed that nursing homes and long-term care facilities were often at COVID-19 ground zero. These facilities have faced all manner of challenges, including the size and health of their resident populations, their staffing needs, the availability of badly needed equipment, and the availability and utility of testing for both residents and staff. We will take a hard look at the statutory and regulatory framework under which these nursing homes and long-term care facilities operate, and we will make we hope to be necessary recommendations for change when it's appropriate to do so. Next, the COVID-19 crisis has revealed issues of tort and contractual liability and immunity from such liability, issues which we lawyers are singularly qualified to sort out. The New York State Bar Association will take on that task as well. In the best of times, being a lawyer is stressful. Rates of mental illness, substance abuse, fatigue, and other health-related issues are higher for those in the law than in any other profession. Add to that COVID-19, the uncertainty caused by the virus, the distractions of working from home, and maybe a good dose of cabin fever. NYSBA has long offered support and services for members struggling with such issues after they have begun to take their toll. Now, however, is the time to be proactive. Maintaining mental and physical health takes focus and effort, but it is far easier than regaining one's health after years of neglect. Our newly formed task force on attorney well-being, ably co-chaired by Libby Carino of Saratoga Springs and Judge Karen Peters of Woodstock, is taking a holistic approach, studying mental and physical well-being, and the strategies involved in maintaining physical and mental health well-being, and formulating recommendations for their implementation throughout New York's legal community. As the courts start to reopen and litigation resumes, we are stepping forward to assist in the process and help smooth the way. Our association will examine and make best practice recommendations regarding what is likely to be a surge in virtual trials, both jury and non-jury, and virtual disclosure proceedings such as depositions as well. And there will be issues arising with respect to the criminal practice, which we will also take a look at and examine. And these issues, of course, will take so much of our time, but are important, and we at the State Bar will take them on. More than one half of our members are in solo and small firm practices. Those members have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. Our emergency task force on solo and small firm practitioners, which was created by my predecessor, Hank Greenberg, and is now led by Dominic Napolitano of Brooklyn and June Castellano of Rochester, is a continuing source of vital information and service, clarifying executive orders and rules issued by the governor and the unified court system in response to the pandemic, advocating for interim payments for assigned counsel and attorneys for children, tracking and distributing information on available grants and loans, tax deferrals, and technology, and advocating for opening of the courts so as to enable our members to continue to earn a living in spite of the hardships they are facing. Our working group on reopening law firms, led by Marion Rice of Garden City, is conferring with firms of all sizes throughout the state about how to bring about the reintroduction of lawyers and staff back into their offices safely once the restrictions on practicing law have been lifted. Our digital transformation continues. On April 4th, 2020, I had the distinct privilege of presiding over a historic event, our first ever virtual New York State Bar Association House of Delegates meeting. The meeting lasted for some 4.5 hours and was virtually attended by 207 delegates, making it the best attended meeting in the history of the House. We listened to reports, we made motions, we debated, we voted, and we accomplished a great deal of important association business. Following that meeting, we were contacted by a large number of other bar associations, including the American Bar Association, who were anxious to learn about our experience in the virtual realm. Our profession has a proud tradition of providing pro bono legal services to those who are otherwise unable to afford a lawyer. In this era of COVID-19, it is more important than ever that we do so. So we continue working on the COVID-19 Pro Bono Network, our pro bono partnership with the unified court system. We are calling for lawyer volunteers to help in critical areas such as unemployment insurance benefits, landlord-tenant and housing matters, and surrogates court probate matters, with more substantive areas likely to follow. I encourage all my colleagues, from seasoned lawyers and leaders of the bar to newly admitted lawyers, to take on pro bono work in the coming year when it is needed more than ever in light of the pandemic. To set the example, I pledge to take on a pro bono matter myself, and I hope you will join me in that effort. As Americans, we are blessed with certain inalienable rights, but with those rights come the responsibilities of citizenship. I submit that those responsibilities are not being adequately met because there is a woeful lack of knowledge among our citizens about how our government and the law affects their lives. In order to improve this situation, lawyers have a vital role to play as educators. I am pleased that Chief Judge DiFiore and Associate Judge Michael Garcia of our Court of Appeals are partnering with us in a wide-ranging civics education effort. In fact, less than a month ago, we were scheduled to bring together a distinguished panel of lawyers, judges, educators, and students in a convocation to study ways in which the bench, the bar, and academia might develop strategies to improve civics education in our state schools, including educational programs presented by lawyers and judges. Regrettably, the coronavirus intervened, causing us to postpone the convocation, and it is our hope to be able to reschedule for the spring of 2021. In all of the plans and endeavors that I have spoken of this evening, I pledge that, as your president, I will faithfully adhere to our association's policy on diversity and inclusion. That will be reflected in my presidential appointments and in the many other decisions I will be called upon to make throughout the coming year. An example of our association's commitment to diversity and inclusion is the work of the Commercial and Federal Litigation Section's Women's Initiative Task Force. Its landmark 2017 report, entitled "The Time Is Now: Achieving Equality for Women Attorneys in the Courtroom and in ADR," addressed the need to increase the meaningful presence of women lawyers in our courts and tribunals. This report was approved by our House of Delegates and eventually by the ABA as well. More recently, on May 28th, just a few days ago, a follow-up report was issued that essentially calls for a redoubling of efforts to put women in important roles, both in courtrooms and before other tribunals where lawyers practice. This follow-up report will shortly come before our House of Delegates for anticipated approval. My friends and colleagues, what was a trend in the legal profession toward greater reliance on computers, virtual meetings, e-court, e-filing, e-argument, and e-consultation is now a trend on steroids. We are being pushed into the law office of the future and the courts of the future before we may feel ready to do so, but the future is now, and it won't wait for us to become comfortable. And if we were to pursue a return to our old normality, that would only signal a failure of leadership, one which I am not prepared to countenance. I contend that we should not fear the present nor the future. Of necessity, nearly every aspect of our lives has moved online. We have learning curves, and that's fine. Who else here has only learned recently about Zoom and Skype, as I have only just learned? We must embrace change. We must see it as an opportunity. As an association, open digitally 24/7, we have been justly recognized as being on the cutting edge of change. As my predecessor, Hank Greenberg, is fond of saying, we have positioned ourselves as the greatest bar association on the planet. And Michael repeated it tonight, on the planet. I believe that to my core, and will, with your support and assistance, strive to maintain that lofty position. Our work as lawyers is more important than ever. We are the guardians of justice and the protectors of the rule of law, a role which we must never lose sight of. In the face of this pandemic, people seem to have lost faith in government, in the rule of law, and in the promise of America. They are hungry for honesty, for transparency, and for the facts. People want reasoned argument, not anger. They want consensus, not division. They want solutions, not excuses. That is the essence of what lawyers do. It is our job. We lawyers have the tools to help reinstitute the public's faith in our system of government. I believe that this is the lawyer's time to lead and our time to shine. I urge you to step forward and heed my call to action. It is the greatest honor of my professional career to serve as the president of the New York State Bar Association. And as we navigate the challenges of now and what lies ahead, I commit fully to you that as a leader, I will be thoughtful, diligent, and dynamic, mindful of the past, concerned about the present, and focused on the future. And with that, I thank all of you. I hope you're all safe, and I wish you a good night. Thank you.